New details on Saudi Arabia's definite interest in purchasing World Wrestling Entertainment. Plans for Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 39 have reportedly changed within the last couple of weeks. Speaking of plans changing, plans have also possibly changed for Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler challenging for a certain pair of titles at WrestleMania. We've also got an update on the planned main event for WrestleMania 39 Night 1 in April. Roman Reigns is scheduled for a rare house show appearance later on next month. Grayson and HBK Shawn Michaels. Where is that storyline going in NXT? We've got details on that. Plus, WWE has two premium live events scheduled for May later on this year. An update on Barry Windham as he recovers from a heart attack late last year. And Becky Lynch makes history in WWE 2K23. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking about sales and takeovers of WWE. Of course, we know Vince McMahon returned to World Wrestling Entertainment earlier this year as the executive chairman of the company to help facilitate a sale of World Wrestling Entertainment, in addition to being front and center for negotiating the media rights fees for the upcoming negotiations. And a recent report has revealed that there is definite interest from Saudi Arabia in the purchase of WWE as they seek market-leading opportunities. In the new issue of Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer writes, quote, "We know someone involved on the Saudi side about the sale this past week, and there is definite interest. It's not considered as important as Formula One, which they wanted but doesn't look like they can get, or Live Golf. But they are looking for properties that they can get to either number one in their market, or in the case of their soccer investments, they want their league to be top 5 and have interest already in one team in the Premier League, the highest profile league in the world's most popular sports, and have interest in something with Manchester United, the highest profile team in the world." Now, it must be said, when Dave Meltzer is talking about that, that's when I take a step back and go, that is bullshit. Because as someone, you might even know me from doing daily work on United View, there is no Saudi bid. There have been no Saudi bids for Manchester United. Most likely, the people that are going to be purchasing Manchester United are either the Qatari investment from Sheikh Jassim, or it could be a situation where it's purchased by Sir Jim Ratcliffe or Ineos, or maybe it could be a situation whereby the current owners, the Glazer family, they stay because of a cash injection from Elliott management. But Saudi Arabia do not have any interest in purchasing Manchester United, so that is something a bit nonsensical. In addition to that, they already have a team in the Premier League. It's Newcastle United. Do your research, Dave. Come on. Now, he continues by saying what they are franchises that have a worldwide fan base, preferably big in the United States, and they are not looking at them for revenue or profitability, but to bring publicity to their country and normalize the worldviews of their country. It's completely different from Endeavour or any other purchaser's goal would be, which would be to buy the company based on it being able to turn gigantic profits. A Saudi purchase could change the salary structure more as it has for top golf pros who left the PGA Tour, but as far as bidding for talent, it could totally change the game. If someone gets it, you would expect far more changes and a budget based on maximizing profits. It's what's being called sports washing, where you bring in high-profile sports events to the country and own major franchises with the idea that people think you are a big part of the expected sports world, and it washes away the stench of human rights differences and violations. Even for people like Tony Khan or Endeavour, while they could raise a lot of money, they would be looking at it as a business acquisition and not a publicity arm where making money long-term on the deal is the goal. That goes the same for media companies. While those in WWE have told me they prefer to sell to a media company, most stories indicate media companies aren't looking for that level of a purchase because of uncertainty over the future changes in consumption. Of course, there have been lots of different and contrasting viewpoints on the possibility of Saudi Arabia purchasing WWE, but what Meltzer is saying there is he's basically explaining the term sports washing and explaining the concerns that are valid concerns, and a lot of people have when it comes to certain countries, state-backed entities purchasing major companies or sporting franchises, which of course WWE does fall into that category. However, when he's talking about some of the soccer side of things, the football side of things with the Premier League teams, he's a bit misinformed, it must be said. Next, let's talk about Brock Lesnar and his plans for WrestleMania possibly changing, or reportedly they have changed in the last few weeks. An update has emerged on changing plans for Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 39 ahead of the April 1st and April 2nd event. While there still appears to be several potential opponents lined up for Brock Lesnar, the Beast has been invited to appear on this coming week's edition of Monday Night Raw, following Amos issuing a WrestleMania challenge. Per Dave Meltzer in the latest edition of Wrestling Observer newsletter, the plan for Lesnar has changed in the last week or two. Discussing the upcoming angle, Meltzer writes, quote, "The only thing we know is that whatever the Lesnar plan was, and it wasn't Gunther, that it changed in the last week or two. Next week on Raw, they are doing an angle that would either set up this match or the angle is a swerve for something else, but television would leave you to believe this is it." Lesnar, of course, last wrestled at the February 18 Elimination Chamber Premium Live event, losing to Bobby Lashley via disqualification after resorting to a low blow to escape from the Hurt Lock. Some speculated that this finish was to set up one more Lashley versus Lesnar match. It had also been predicted that by some that Lesnar had been lined up to face Bray Wyatt, who had previously vowed to battle the winner of the bout, but with such a controversial finish, it had been argued that Lesnar could still be Wyatt's target. While it was reported by WrestlingNews.co that a Lesnar vs Gunther match had been discussed, Meltzer previously noted that this bout wasn't officially planned for the WrestleMania 39 event, which it would appear that it is not, and it had been previously put out there that indeed Lesnar vs Amos is the plan for WrestleMania. And again, it's a match I don't think anyone really wanted. I'm not sure people still do. It's a change that certainly caught a lot of people by surprise. Is it an attraction match? Sure. But is it a match people actually want to see? I'm not too sure. Speaking of WrestleMania, plans may have also changed for Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. An update to a WrestleMania 39 title match has been rumoured to be taking place to set a marquee level match at the event. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer writes, quote, "Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey will challenge for the women's tag titles. It was originally against Io Sky and Dakota Kai, the champions. But Lita and Becky Lynch face Sky and Kai, and WrestleMania is about marquee matches, and Lita and Lynch as a team against Baszler and Rousey is a bigger match." Lita, of course, recently returned to WWE, appearing on this week's episode of Raw, alongside Becky Lynch and setting her sights on Damage Control's championships. Of course, she returned a couple of weeks ago, saving Lynch from Damage Control during her steel cage match against Bayley on Monday Night Raw. Now, with Monday's edition of Raw already scheduled to host that big women's tag team championship match between the team of Becky Lynch, Lita and Damage Control, could another set of challenges be waiting in the wings? WWE's events page, as well as the arena hosting Monday Night Raw, the Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids, Michigan, are advertising that Ronda Rousey is now set to appear on the show. While it's possible that Ronda is rolling alone, it's also highly likely that she'll be accompanied by her current on-screen tag team partner Shayna Baszler. As I mentioned, we previously just spoke about the report noting the plan for Rousey at WrestleMania 39 is to team with Baszler to challenge for the women's tag team titles. Ronda Rousey nor Shayna Baszler have been officially announced to be attending Monday's edition of Raw on WWE's social media at the time of recording, although plans could change. We'll have to wait and see if we see either of them show up on Raw next Monday. However, Meltzer is speculating, and it feels like speculation, less of a report, more of a speculative approach from him, that we could see a situation whereby it's Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch and Lita for the Women's Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania. I guess that would open up the possibility of then having Trish Stratus versus Bayley at WrestleMania, and everyone gets kind of their respective matches. That to me does make more sense, and it does feel like they are bigger matches. Is that the direction that WWE are going in right now? I have to wait and see. I'm sure Monday will be a much better indication, or maybe even tonight on SmackDown, we could hear that Rousey and Baszler are going to show up on Monday's Raw and attack or challenge whoever the champions may be after the show has ended. Speaking of WrestleMania, we've got more details on what could be the WrestleMania 39 Night 1 main event, with WrestleMania 39 once again continuing the two-night epic on April 1st and 2nd, and updates for the Night 1 main event has been revealed. Writing in the new issue of Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer revealed, quote, "Reigns vs. Rhodes is expected to headline the second night. There is no decision on the main event of Night 1, past an internal feeling that Charlotte Flair vs. Rhea Ripley right now is the favourite. There is a push feeling for sponsors and political reasons after men main evented both nights last year. It would be good for a women's match to headline, and the feeling Flair versus Ripley is stronger than Belair versus Asuka for the spot. If there is the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, One would think that would be the other favourite. It was recently reported that WWE was, quote, very concerned with the levels of reaction that Sami Zayn is getting as the company continues to build Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship at WrestleMania 39. Again, it would seem really unfortunate that Sami Zayn would do all of this work and not get a WrestleMania main event, but we'll have to wait and see. He still could, of course, be added to the undisputed Universal Championship match, although at this point it does feel unlikely. But speaking of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they've had a will they, won't they moment earlier this week on Raw, as Zayn offered an olive branch to his friend, a friend of over 20 years, apologising for siding with the bloodline during Owens' feud with Roman Reigns. Zayn even admitted that he needed Owens' help to end the bloodline once and for all. However, much to the dismay of the fans in Ottawa, Owens rejected Zayn's peace offering whilst reiterating what he told Sami Zayn back in November, quote, "I still mean everything I said after Survivor Series. I told you I was done with you, and that stands today." Now, there is some good news for fans hoping for a Zayn-Owens reunion en route to WrestleMania. According to local ad listings for an upcoming Road to WrestleMania live event in Toronto, Owens and Zayn will wrestle the Bloodlines Reigns and Solo Sikoa at the Coca-Cola Coliseum on March 4. We're going to talk a bit more about Roman Reigns part of that in just a second. The ad could also prove to be a spoiler for the events that could transpire on this week's edition of SmackDown, where Zayn and Owens are advertised to appear. There's also the possibility of WWE workshopping the Owens-Zayn reunion storyline at a WWE live event before bringing the same to television, a tactic that the promotion has utilized previously. Although conventional wisdom hints at Owens and Zayn challenging the Usos for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania 39, the recent dynamic between Jey Uso and Zayn is something to keep an eye on. Jey has repeatedly refused to strike his dog despite the insistence of Reigns and the rest of the bloodline. Could tonight be the night that Jey finally turns on Zayn, or is he not going to turn on him at all until we get to WrestleMania or just weeks before? Now, I did just talk about Roman Reigns there, didn't I? Being at this house show, this live event, and indeed, it's a rare appearance. Undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns is set for a big main event on WWE's upcoming house show in Toronto. At Elimination Chamber, Roman Reigns defeated Sami Zayn to retain the undisputed WWE Universal Championship in Zayn's hometown of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. However, Kevin Owens made his return following the bout to help make the save for Zayn, who was getting beaten down by Reigns and Jimmy Uso. On the February 20 edition of Raw, as I mentioned, Zayn offered that olive branch, which Kevin Owens declined, but per PW Insider, the Coca-Cola Coliseum in Toronto has announced that WWE's upcoming live event on March 4 will be headlined by Roman Reigns teaming with Solo Sikoa to face off against the tag team of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Sikoa hasn't appeared on WWE TV since the February 3rd edition of SmackDown. Meanwhile, Reigns is currently scheduled to defend the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 39 this April. Again, a very, very, very rare house show appearance from Roman Reigns after he pretty much stopped doing them entirely after WrestleMania last year, as he signed that new WWE contract for lesser dates and lesser appearances. Therefore, Reigns doesn't even appear on every episode of SmackDown, let alone house shows or even pay-per-views nowadays. So certainly a big reason and a big match for him being there. It could be a possibility, given Reigns' limited dates, that we see a situation where they actually shoot an angle at that show. That is a possibility. Considering it's in Canada, they probably would get the best reaction there as opposed to on television in the United States, even though it still would be a great reaction. So don't be surprised if we see a situation whereby they shoot an angle at that show. Speaking of angles and storylines, one of the biggest ones in NXT right now is between Shawn Michaels and Grayson Waller, and a bit of an update as to where this one is going. Of course, NXT star Grayson Waller certainly isn't letting up on his real-life trolling of his boss Shawn Michaels. However, is he about to pay dearly for what he has been doing recently? In a potential scoop from a recently minted scoop account on Twitter, WRKD Wrestling, it notes, quote, "As many fans have speculated, the idea of Shawn Michaels forcing Grayson Waller to face off against the debuting Dragon Lee has indeed been discussed." Elsewhere on Twitter, Grayson Waller continues to poke at Shawn Michaels in a variety of tweets, including calling him out for not having responded to his interruption to end the latest edition of NXT. Will we see Shawn Michaels appear at the upcoming special edition of NXT Roadblock on the Grayson Waller effect? Also set for that special episode of NXT, we'll also see the NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez taking on Meiko Satomura, as well as Tony D'Angelo versus Dijak in a jailhouse street fight. Some people had speculated we were going to see Shawn Michaels versus Grayson in an actual match during WrestleMania weekend. Very unlikely. It feels most likely, as the Twitter account was mentioning there, that it's going to be Waller versus Dragon Lee at Stand and Deliver. Although I suppose we could see a situation whereby the NXT Championship is involved. Of course, Bron Breakker was interrupted by Grayson Waller this past week, even though they have faced each other twice recently, so that does feel unlikely as well. May's going to be a busy month for WWE when it comes to the premium live events. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics revealed that May is scheduled to see Backlash, which interestingly is no longer called WrestleMania Backlash, and WWE King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring take place. Backlash is set to take place on Saturday, May 6. WWE King and Queen of the Ring is scheduled for Saturday, May 27. Interestingly, May 27 is Memorial Day weekend in the United States, and is when AEW has held its Double or Nothing pay-per-view in Las Vegas. Of course, WWE traditionally stayed away from Memorial Day weekend, but over the last few years they've suddenly started running shows that weekend. Interestingly. Now, Double or Nothing has, for the past 2 years, been on the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. Of course, before that, it was on the Saturday of that weekend. In an update from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer states, quote, Brandon Thurston reported that Backlash will be the first pay-per-view after WrestleMania on May 6, and they will run King and Queen of the Ring on May 27. That's notable because AEW's Double or Nothing is scheduled for May 28. It's always possible that either one or both of the companies could adjust to their schedule to avoid this clash, but it feels unlikely. This would mark the first time that there would be a King of the Ring pay-per-view since 2002, over 20 years. Of course, that event ran from 1993 to 2002. It was featured as a tournament in the 2021 Crown Jewel event, where Xavier Woods was crowned King of the Ring and Zelina Vega became the winner of the Queen's Crown. Didn't really matter though, because did it benefit either? Not really. And there was no tournament last year at all, so we're going to get one this year though. An update on Barry Windham, a positive update certainly after a real serious house scare last year. Arn Anderson has provided an update on Barry Windham's recovery from a massive heart attack on December 2nd, 2022. Speaking on the Arn podcast, the founding member of the Four Horsemen said, quote, getting it third party that he's making his way back slowly. He's hopefully going to be much, much better as time goes by. It was a really bad scare. I know that it scared the shit out of all of us as soon as we heard it. It was a very close call. I think he's getting a little bit better along. I don't think he's in a position where he can travel or anything like that yet. Anderson would go on to thank the fans for their thoughts and prayers, adding, a lot of thought has went into Barry Windham and his condition, you know, a lot of prayers, and we appreciate that coming from everybody. I know the family does. Hopefully Barry will be up and around before we know it. Mika Rotunda, Windham's niece, had previously provided an update on the Hall of Famer, confirming that he is indeed talking and able to stand again. Of course, we wish him nothing but the best in his continued recovery from a really serious house scares. One of the best in Barry Windham. Finally, Becky Lynch. Of course, she's a history maker for a variety of reasons, but Becky Lynch is making history once again, but this time in the virtual world. WWE 2K23 announced during its ratings reveal show Wednesday afternoon that the man will become the highest rated woman of all time in its annual pro wrestling video game series, notching an overall rating of 96. WWE stars and personalities appeared on Xavier Woods' Up, Up, Down, Down YouTube show to reveal each wrestler's rating in the upcoming game, which is set to be released next month. Last year, Lynch was rated 92, but the six-time WWE Women's Champion said her performance throughout 2022 was awesome and ultimately led to the 4-point rise in her rating. Quote, you know what? I've been freaking awesome, Lynch told WWE interviewer Greg Miller. What happened since the last 2K game? I had a match of the weekend at WrestleMania, not even a question. And what else did I do? I just kept everything afloat. I jumped off cages, through tables, amongst many other things. Miller also noted that Lynch's rating is not only the best ever for a woman on the WWE roster, but it's also higher than pretty much everyone on the roster in this year's game as a whole. Lynch's rating is the third highest on this year's active roster, behind only undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Lynch entered 2022 as the Raw Women's Champion, but lost the title at WrestleMania 38 to Bianca Belair. Since then, the two women have made amends. A returning Bayley then has been targeting Lynch, reigniting a long-standing rivalry that culminated in a historic steel cage match on Raw earlier this month. So there you go, guys. It's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button. Let me know your thoughts on today's WWE news stories in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.